All right. Hey, this is Philip again. I'm going to talk a little bit more about layers. Given that there is this little bit of a shortcoming on fully automatic opaque layers, I wanted to just give you a sense of how you can get some of these effects using the Magic Pink mode or maybe some others to basically color key to a particular color like blue or green. Pink really works well, Magic Pink. And so I like to show it with that, but the concept is about the same in others. As you can see here, I have a couple of layers, and you can make them visible, do some transforms with them. There's all sorts of benefits in working with layers, of course. It's not the most top priority for Howler. We do have layers for other users as well, and typically that's to blend a painted part with another painting, maybe to make it a little bit darker or make it brighter, put some highlights in, or even have to have layers that are for graphic parts that are not overlapping, right? Just side by side, but also stacked into different layers, so you can decide which one to show and which one to work on later and not show. So there is also a swap image. The swap buffer or swap image has another kind of concept, sometimes a little bit similar to what you do with layers. And so here, when you combine, when you enable the swap mixing or blending, you have also a whole bunch of different layer modes, including Magic Pink, and of course some of those that will be interesting in terms of combining an image with another in some different ways. So the same thing goes here. Let's go disable that. We have just the three layers, and I wanted to show you kind of the workflow on how to actually set this up, right? So I'm gonna go and delete all of these. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna just flatten them just to show that that works. One thing that does not work right now, and we're looking into that as of today, what's April 22nd. We're looking into it, but it seems like if you flatten just one layer to the next, and here's the video just created to show Dan, we do have I think there's a bug or something. Something is not quite working if you flatten two layers together. So let's say if I take this one, and that's the one with the green part there, R, and then I want to flatten this one here with the cool part, the blue or cyan. Let's say if I take this guy here and flatten just that, it seems like something's lost, right? The blue part is gone. So that's probably a glitch, a bug, or something that we may be able to fix. We'll check into that. But what I wanted to do is really show you, you can flatten this, and you can flatten everything basically, and that, as the tooltip indicates, what you see is what you'll get. So you have a flattened image in which everything is retained. One thing you don't have is a transparency mask for it, right? There is no alpha channel. There was no alpha channel in the first place for the layers, yellow, for the green R. That was all done through the pink layer blending. Now there's ways to recover some sort of a mask if you need it to have the text transparent against a transparent background, but that's a different topic. And we'll cover that probably in another tutorial. So what I wanted to do is just focus on how do you set this up. So one thing you'll want to do is make your erase color pink, right? And there's a couple of quick ways to get to pink. When you look at the color mixer down here, the harmony, there's mixer, there's wheel, there's a couple of different color mixers, right? RGB is maybe one that you see first, or this one here, the box, the triangle. Some of these have a pink selector, but are you exactly on pink or are you slightly off? I think this one here on the harmony has an interesting set of complementary colors, and you can right click that and get to your pretty saturated nice pink for the secondary color. Right? If you left click it, let's say left click this one, you see that that's the primary color. Lower left side you'll see I mean on the floating toolbar, on the toolbar that you can attach to the left or to the right, you'll see the primary color here as yellow and the secondary color as pink in this case. So these two colors that you see here in the sidebar are the same colors that you see here for the primary and secondary colors. So I can go and left click and get the red, left click and get the blue, left click and get the pink, but most importantly I'm going to want the right click to not be any of the black or white or whatever it was initially. I want it to be pink. All right, so that way, if I create a new image, or if I erase the existing image, that new image gets erased to that secondary color. It's pink. And at that point, I might actually put just white in there. If I say, well, I'm going to do a composition in which the background initially, the lowest level of the layers stack is going to be white, but the layers I put on top, I'm going to need to use this erase to pink and set them to pink, magic pink mode, in order to play the trick that allows me to have automatic opaque colors for everything except for what is pink. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, create a new layer, add a layer, right? And it gets cleared to pink, so the entire image appears pink. That's the one right up here. I can hide it. And what I'll do now is set the layer blending mode to pink. So where it says default, that default mode is actually the same as the multiply. I'm going to change it to magic pink, so now it becomes transparent. It actually has a little bit of a pink note, and I think maybe I'm a little bit off here. Maybe I'm not exactly erased to pink anymore. So that's one I'm going to need to address. Let's see if perhaps I can go to the RGB values. Yeah, looks like I'm a little bit off on the blue here. So let's see if I go fully saturated on red and blue, and assuming that that's my let's see, that's not exactly it. How do I switch the two here? That's better. So what RGB values are those? Let's go and find out. Let's go and set the mode to just default, and then go with the color picker here, something like this here, and find what the colors are. Yeah, there they are. There they are. Okay. So 255, or fully saturated red, fully saturated blue, nothing on green. That's your perfect pink. All right. So we erase to that. Right. It seems like I have in the swap image, I have a slightly darker one. We can erase that to white if we don't want to be distracted by that. And wait, did I do that? I did not do that. So I need to erase to white. There, the swap image is white. I can go back to the main image. Oh, I was on the swap. All right, let's go erase it to white. There you go. That's a right click, by the way, on that erase tool, and then switch back. So now I'm on one more. There. Now I'm on the main image, and I want that one to be pink. So erase, there you go. So now we have this pink. That's the starting point, right? We have a layer 0 that's plain white, or actually could contain an image. Why not? Let's put something in there. Let's go render something like a grid or a plaid pattern, cold lava, cellular. Let's give it a grid there, some sort of a grid there, with a little bit more on that there. And in fact, let's temporarily hide this upper layer and work on this one and give it a little bit of lighting here. Why not add some lighting? Let's say, where's my artistic stylize? There's a lighting tool, and you can see we'll put a little bit of a light source here, make it a little bit brighter, bring it down a little bit closer, make it a little bit more pronounced for that displacement, and multiply with the prior colors, make it a little bit coarser, add a little bit of specular to that. Alright, perhaps change the color of the light source as well here. Something like this. There you go. Alright, so this will be our under image, our layer down below. Right, so that's this one here. Alright, we can store this, by the way. You never know, you might need this somewhere else. So let's go store image copy. There you go. There's a lot of things you can store. I should do a tutorial on what you can store. Images you can store. So there's a store image or image copy in this newer version. Brush, you can store and manage a brush, the image that's in a brush. You can also turn it into a stored image. And then there is selections you might want to store. If you have a selection mask, you can store that. And you can also go to animation and store animations. And I always recommend storing to disk. That way you don't saturate Howler with animations stored in RAM. But what we can do now is focus on the next part, which is layers. So this one here is already created and erased to pink, so it gives this entire combined image a little bit of a pink tone. But if we now turn this into magic pink as the layer blending mode, it is just clear, it's transparent, and we end up seeing just this layer underneath it. So here we can start drawing stuff in other colors. Let's say I'm taking the text tool, and this is layer 1, and I know this is a big text string. I might want to just put it in as a brush rather than applying it directly here. I mean, I could go and reduce the size right here from the F, as in font lister. I could go and reduce the size, something like that. And then grab the text box, make it a bit more constrained, and put it around here, right? So that I can do, and I can then say apply the text. Right, now I want it applied in a way that's different from the pink color that I currently have in the primary color. So I need to give it something like blue, for instance, dark blue perhaps. And at that point, if I apply it, it remains an opaque dark blue layer. Right. It's a text inside this layer that I can turn on and off. I can also apply transforms to that. Let's say, for instance, blur it. Let's say there's a motion blur, right? And do all sorts of funky stuff with that. And it behaves pretty nicely. Everything that's pink is transparent. Anything that's different colors is opaque, and then there is some values in between, and the more pink it has, the more transparent it gets, so you get a nice transitional transparency there, right? You can see that here. In fact, if I choose this color again and erase it to white, right click here to select clear to white, you can see there's no pink side effect here, so it's pretty clean, but it's also something you can use still with that image in there. Just clicking on that stored image will restore it into the current layer. Alright, so we got this one here. I'm going to go into another, add another layer. That one gets erased to pink as well. That's still our erase color, or our secondary color. And I'm going to set the layer mode for that one as well to magic pink. Right? You got to keep doing that. Every time you want a layer to actually use color pink as transparency flag or indicator or hint, you got to make sure that the layer blending mode is magic pink for that. So what do we do here? Layer 1 was the first one. Let's say a different color. Let's say, for instance, green. Let's say something like dark green, something like this, or light green, and go perhaps on a rectangle fill and put that in there. All right. Let's go another layer. And so here is one more. Again, we need to make the layer mode to magic pink, and this time we'll go with something like light yellow, almost whitish, and give it a different shape. You can do shapes like these that are filled, and then with the right button, what's going to happen is that it's filling it in pink, but pink makes it transparent. So look at that, you can see through it. So you can cut those holes into that same layer, essentially make it back to transparent. You can also paint in the current color. You can also paint with the right color, so it erases essentially. You get that effect there for this upper layer. So you have this layer here now with, let's say we want to transform that. Let's go to transform, something like this here. And you see here in this preview, it does show the transform with the colors that layer actually has. Right? It doesn't have transparency masks or flags inside the layer itself. It's just erased to pink, and the layer blending mode says magic pink, which means, hey, if you're a pink pixel, go away. I don't want to see you. So here it's actually doing that layer blending to magic pink, turning them transparent. But if you look at what's really in there, it is a pink color, and there is no denying that. That's exactly what it shows here. So you can use this transform to, for instance, apply a little bit of a transform, combination of scale, combination of rotation, and make sure it's tiled. If you don't tile it, it will erase it to black here by default, not to the secondary color. So you will actually see it in black here, right? So if you want it to not be black, you can see it here all transparent, but it will wrap the image if you tile it. And depending on how much or how little zoom you give it, you may see a nice replication of this. If this is what you want, that's perfect. Alright, so we got this layer, and we can keep going. Let's add another layer, and again we have to make sure it is in magic pink mode. There you go. So right now we don't see anything for it. This time we'll use a gradient, and so we click on this tool here, and right click here, you have a couple of tools. Let's go with the circular gradient, right? And actually the context bar will show you some of these tools as well. Circular gradient, and first we'll grab a gradient here, this gradient, we'll grab a gradient that doesn't have much of pink or close to pink. For instance, just gray, black and white, or something of the blue ones here, like this one here. This one probably will not have much color that is transparent, but there is a little bit. And I don't know, there's a risk that if you do gradients like these, that they will have some transparent tone. Let's see, this one here, probably not so much. Yeah, that one's pretty opaque. But when you look on the inside, there are some parts where it goes into that purplish area, and there is, of course, a similarity to pink, so it could be a little bit transparent in appearance. Plus, it also, on the edge, the gradient is totally opaque, appearing black. So what you may want to do is go to the, let's see, gradients, to the sweep editor, right? Or you can also access that from over here, view, I think it's the window menu in your version, and go to the sweep editor, P as in playtime. And so, yeah, there are some parts here that have perhaps a little bit too much red, and you might want to reduce that, something like this. And especially the black parts, or the opacity, you may want to reduce the opacity towards the edge so it doesn't turn it black on the outside. You could keep it opaque on, I guess this side is the inner side, and then this side you could go down on the opacity. So that way your doilies or your gradient, your circular gradients, will not be opaque on the outside, and that black stops the moment you reach the edge of that circle. Right, so you can do something like that as well. So let's go and erase the entire layer to pink. Right, you see it right there. And so now you can create these doilies, and they are appearing opaque, thanks to being in a layer with Magic Pink blending mode. So yeah, there are some slight limitations, because if there is any color in the gradient that is close to pink, something like this one, for instance, or in fact, if you go to it and adjust it a little bit, something like this here. Let's say you go alternating the red amount from a lot of red to just very little red. You see that some of these will be having very close similarity to pink. I mean, you could go to the extreme like this here. You could say blue part goes something like this. So you see there's alternations between pink and blue, right? And then the green goes up and down. Maybe that's a couple of other things. But there's essentially a couple of zones here where the red is going to be fully present, and then in between it's going to be no red, so the pink disappears, makes it opaque. And so here you can see that that's going to be an interesting effect. We do have some opacity on the edge here that we need to adjust as well. So let's go with blue, set the opacity for blue here to be transparent. Let's go something like this here. All right, so now we have some parts that are going to, and that of course applied the smoothing to not just the opacity but to everything here. So let's go back to red, something like this, blue, maximum as well, but on the red, let's go put a couple of slides here that are basically creating holes where the red disappears or the pink color disappears, and so you see the colors here, the effect on that, and so now you see another type of circular patterns with openings in there where the pink color causes transparency. Now, so you can use that to your advantage if exactly that is what you want, right? But it is something that you do get by virtue of using Magic Pink. If you use a different tone, different mode like blue screen, then the transparency would be on blue, right? And if you had some green components there, you could switch to green and use the green screen. There's not a whole lot of green here in this. So not enough to actually trigger the transparency. There's a little bit here where the sign peaks with blue and green, but it's not enough to make it look different or close enough to green to actually start showing it transparent. So hope that helps. Hope you can use that in some cases to create your compositions and work on one image at a time or one layer at a time, and create more complex assemblies. And we'll be showing some examples of that as well. there's certainly a tremendous value in having that capability of multiple layers that automatically appear opaque. Unfortunately, that's not the focus in a Howler. So there are some slight tricks you can play as workarounds. The magic pink is one. If you don't have any blue in your coloring, use blue, the blue screen. If you have no green in there, and good luck finding foliage effects like that, but if you have no green, then you could use the green screen, and that's certainly used for live video. Certainly something worth considering as well. Alright, thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.